Boys, the intensity, the main event. We just saw it. They went face to face. They pushed their heads a little bit. We're joined by the governor, Eddie Hearn. This has got big fight feels. You must be excited. That main event is going to lift the roof off.
You know what, as well, and there's a lot of mind games as well. The Nyika side, during the head-to-head, asking how Jai Opetaia's 18-hour flight was to Saudi Arabia. Don't forget, he was there just a couple of weeks ago for the big fight. The mind games are starting. This is a serious fight. A serious fight. I mean, forget about how big it is for Australian boxing. This is a massive fight on a world level. It may be one of the best fights, if not the best fight in the cruiserweight division. The only other fight I see in the division better than this is Opetaia against Zurdo Ramirez. This is a serious, serious fight. And if Jai Opetaia is overlooking Nyika, if he's not switched on, if he's not prepared, he's going to have his hands full tomorrow night. But so much is going to be decided by those early rounds when Nyika first gets touched by those small gloves of Jai Opetaia.
So, Eddie, it's funny you say that. When I was speaking to Jai told me that he's expecting him to come in there and box. Obviously, they've both got the amateur pedigree, but David's never gone past 5 rounds. Now, we know if anyone's going to put him in the deep end, it is Jai. What are you expecting to see from both men?
I think that Nyika's going to suit Nyika the longer the fight goes, but things can unravel real quick in there. I mean, you've seen so many guys without the experience to go in there, and once Jai starts pushing it on you and putting it on you, you have to stand and fight. If he does that, I think this fight will be over inside 3 rounds. I really do, because if Jai comes out there and starts getting aggressive with Nyika, he's not going to box long. He likes to stand and trade as well. I think if you're looking at Nyika's weaknesses, sometimes he does get hit a little bit too much. Maybe that's because he's fighting at a lower level where he's not as concerned and he's not as switched on. These are the kind of fights where you'll see the very best of someone like David Nyika. And sometimes you look at a fight where there's an underdog who's 4, 5, 6 to 1, and you can't really see a way that they can win. This kid's got pedigree. Like, Nyika's a serious fighter. It's not like he's not good enough to become a world champion. I'm sure Nyika will become a world champion, but will he become a world champion tomorrow night? Could be too early. If he's special, maybe he does it.
That tentative approach that David Nyika's had, you know, he's been in that shell all week. I mean, it's like he's been meditating, and today he came out of it, you know, with his attitude today, it looks like he's going to go out with some aggression, because he said that he's there to win.
Yeah, I mean, Ed, what do you take from that? Obviously, all week we've been trying to get them to bite and prod at each other. It's almost like the first time that they've actually gone at it, but I suppose
I've been very impressed with Nyika. Like, even there in the head-to-head, there was no fear. Like, this is a guy, you know, there's a difference between convincing yourself you're confident you can do it and you're ready to actually being ready. And that part we won't find out till tomorrow night. But everything I've seen thousands of head-to-heads, and sometimes you look and you go, no. The Adam's apple starts going. I look down at the torso and I can see the pulse beating through the chest. I don't see that from Nyika. I see a man that truly believes in himself. But until you step up the levels, you actually never know. The thing that gives me the hope for a Nyika is the amateur pedigree, but he's coming up against the best cruiserweight in the world. I mean, a pound-for-pound great in Jai Opetaia. That's what I believe. And, you know, like, if you're ever going to find out how great you really are, tomorrow night is the night you find out how great you really are against someone like Jai Opetaia.
And you've nailed it on the head, the self-belief, but it's at another level. He's manifested this. He wanted to make it happen. He's dreamed about it. He's been saying that Jai's been living in his head rent-free. We saw the post-its up on the mirror. This kid has wanted this fight since they first sparred back in the amateur days. This kid has been thinking about this fight. He made this fight happen. So when Sin Cara pulled out, he rushed at the opportunity. But there must be a couple of other fights. Obviously, Terramara and Justice. You must be very excited for them.
Yeah, I am. I mean, the whole card from top to bottom. I mean, even off broadcast with a couple of jockeys that are kicking us off. They love a scrap. That could be the tear up of the night. Those two little fellas. I thought it was Parsons at one stage. But you go up the card. I think I'm looking forward to seeing Ben Marnie. It looks like he's going to be in a tough fight. Terramara's a serious talent. It's very difficult to find him the opposition. We know it's early stages of his career. We expect him to go through. Sean Potgeether, I think, will pose an interesting threat for Justice Honey. We kind of reversed the gear a little bit with Justice after the big fights that he had, particularly with Lorena. I think Mick and maybe myself getting a little bit carried away in the team. No rush, 25 years of age, top 15 in the world, get these good wins. Potgeether is a nice step up from the two run-outs he's had recently, and you're going to see him in some big fights in 2025. But yeah, brilliant undercard, brilliant night of boxing, and a great main event. I can't believe it's only January the 8th.
Absolutely. Now, we don't want to look past an opponent, but we do look through them. Now, you're talking about Justice, you're talking about Terramara, and we know Johnny Fish is going to be here tomorrow night. What are some names that you'd like to see this time next year, 2 years from now?
I think the big fight you're going to end up seeing is the likes of Justice Honey against Moses Atalma. You know, I think Moses is going to be a guy. He's already top, I think, 10 with a WBO. So is Justice Hearn. He's got the kind of style that will make that a tremendous fight. Two smaller guys with fast hands. Teremouana's a different kind of beast. Bigger guy. I mean, he's a huge unit. He's got a little bit of work to do. I think Justice this year is going to be in some really career-defining fights. We may even look, hopefully there'll be an announcement in the next 24, 48 hours about George Kambosos' return as well to Sydney in March. You're going to see Teremouana on that card as well. I want to box him 7 or 8 times this year. I think it's really important to keep those guys active. And Justice as well, this is his 3rd fight in, 5 months? Really important for the activity. But sooner or later, Justice is going to have to return to that world level, and when he does, I think this time he'll be ready.
Eddie, we've been talking about the talent pools down under. I suppose firstly for me that I've been able to see it hands-on and get that sort of, I mean, you're talking about maybe doing 4 shows here this year. Mick Francis and all of the other guys, they're eager to have more boxing down under, and it seems like it could be a hotspot. Important to note, you can still get the last remaining tickets more on sale ahead of tomorrow night, but also, if not, make sure you buy that pay-per-view live on DAZN down under and available for subscribers in the rest of the world.
Yeah, I think when you walk in here, it's got a big event feel. You know, I mean, this is our 2nd show in Australia. It's been a while since we've been back. We had plans to do 3 or 4 shows a year. I think now we kind of learned that you need that partner, you need those hands on the ground here as well. Mick's done a tremendous job. I mean, you know, the setup here, the staging, this place is going to be completely sold out tomorrow night. And there's a real vibrancy about Australian boxing. You know, we have, as you know, a global vision. And I really think, if you look at our talent roster in Australia, George Kambosos, Jai Opetaia, Justice Hearn, Sky Nicholson, Liam Paro, Teremouana. I mean, the list goes on. And, like, we've got so much tremendous talent here. And there's other fighters as well that I'm looking to sign, younger fighters, great amateurs coming through. So if we can do January the 8th tomorrow night and March 22nd in Sydney, that's 2 within the first couple of months of the year. So if we don't do 4, I'll be disappointed. And I think there's a real potential here in this market. You know, and I urge all Australian fight fans to tune in tomorrow night and buy this pay-per-view, support the show. You're not just watching a great Australian fight, you're watching one of the best fighters in the world in Jai Opetaia, who happens to be from Australia. Now, I think boxing here in 2025, you could just see it go to another level.
Well, it's funny you say that. We walk around in fight week, we speak to Uber drivers, whatever. Everyone's actually talking about the fight come Wednesday night. Of course we get in Ubers, Eddie. We're not quite there yet. I might be adding that one onto the DAZN bill come the end of the week. But everyone's talking about Jai. Yeah. Now, we look at sort of traditionally the sports, and Rob, yourself, Ted, you'll know a little bit more so. Boxing's not up there, but it's getting up there very quickly. The buzz and the passion is there.
Yeah, I think that we've got to expose these fighters to a bigger audience. I think Jai, don't forget, hasn't boxed in Australia for 2.5 years. Now, sometimes that's a good thing and sometimes that's a bad thing for their performance. You don't know till he gets in the ring. But really, this guy has been seen fighting around the world, in London, on the big cards in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia. So he has established himself as a bigger name. I think Jai Opetaia should be a national superstar for what he did against Maris Bradis. He broke his jaw in 2 places in this venue in the 3rd round or whatever it was. He boxed for 9 rounds with a broken jaw in 2 places and beat the best cruiserweight on the planet. But because boxing maybe doesn't quite have that, you know, level of importance yet in this country, he isn't the star that he was. But we've got to do more shows. Opetaia, those kind of guys, they're going to be on the pay-per-view level, but we've got to invest as well to make regular shows to a wider audience to build the stars coming through. There's a lot of world-level fighters out there at the moment, but there's a whole underswell of talent coming through, and they're game as you like. They'll fight anybody. Like, they're dying for the opportunity. That's what I love more about it, because he's, you know, you got him 8-0, oh, he's 6-0. Yeah, they'll fight. Go on, stick them in. And they're not, it's not that you haven't been infected yet with the boxing politics and ego of like people, I want this and I want that, and managers and lawyers and agents. People are grateful and people are looking for opportunities to change their life.
We were talking at the workout actually when we were running through the card
together. He does this all the time. You won't get a word in, honestly.
We were talking, I know. We were talking at the workout about looking through the card, and literally from like the 1st or the 2nd fight of the night, you've actually got unbeaten records, or guys with only 1 loss that are literally getting thrown straight into the deep end. Quite refreshing.
Yeah, because what happens over here is it's such a long way away. It's so difficult to fly in opposition. And when you're flying in opposition, you're flying in a fighter +3, right? And each airline fare is $3,000. You're talking about 12, 15 grand just to fly an opponent over in a 6-rounder. So the Australians fight each other. Do you know what I mean? And you've got no choice. That's who you're fighting. It's almost like a little bit of a UFC strategy of, do you want to be on the card? It's him. Is that okay? Yes or no? Yeah, I'll fight him. Boom, done. And, you know, you're seeing that mentality go through the gears of fighters, you know, like Paro, like Sky, like Justice Honey, they'll fight anybody. And they want to fight the best because, you know, they come from this environment where that's what we do. We fight who's available and we're ready to go.
But this fight has got the real global big fight appeal, hasn't it? I mean, what's happening here today with, you know, the fight week and everything that took place. You could be having this in Vegas, Saudi Arabia, England, anywhere. So I mean, so Jai has done well to go overseas, but he's actually brought that now big feel back to Australia. And I think this crowd and this environment is really going to benefit from that.
That's what we want. We want people to tune in around the world and say, wow, look at what's happening in Australia. You know what I mean? You've seen, like, Tim Zoo's done a great job. George Kambosos has done a great job. Now it's Jai's turn to return home in front of a big crowd and have the eyes of the world watching him and say, wow, he's a big draw. And there's loads of other people that can be a draw here as well in Australia. And, you know, this is our second show. It's going to be in Brisbane. We're looking forward to going to Sydney, you know, going to Melbourne, going to Perth and looking at all those different markets and just learning. But I like what I see here. I like the vibrancy. I think people are welcoming. They want to see boxing grow in this part of the world, in this territory, and you know, and like I said, the talent roster. If you didn't have any good fighters, you're so limited to how far you can go. I probably wouldn't be in myself. But when I look at our roster, like we've got 7 or 8 world-class Australian fighters, and there's loads more as well that aren't just with Matchroom. So there's a very deep talent pool in relation to the size of the market. And I think that's going to keep growing. And a good amateur system as well coming through. You know, some great Olympians coming out of the Australian team and beyond that as well.
Absolutely.
Ted, when we were talking earlier in the week, no. Eddie mugging me off live, absolutely no surprises there. We were saying what it would mean to be an active fighter in this scale of the world. You were saying it, I mean, to fight right now is the dream. Even fighters like Liam Smith I speak to towards the sort of back end of their career, they say what they would give to be in their prime now. His Excellency Turkey Al Sheikh, one of his favourite fighters is Jai Opetaia. You've got the ring and the IBF on the line, but David actually wants an opportunity to impress His Excellency as well, Ted.
I mean, it's incredible. And what this is going to do, see, what happens is people see, if they see boxing on TV, DAZN are distributing and you can see boxing all the time. That means that the people coming out of school and college, they're going to now think, I can be a boxer. I can make a living out of that. I can be on TV rather than rugby or football, soccer, what we call it. And, you know, so people are now looking at boxing and thinking it's not just a pay-per-view sport that they haven't seen, that's only in America. Now it's all over the world, you know, and with Eddie's association with Mick and everybody else, you can now fight anywhere. You've got these cars that just keep moving all around the world and it's the same feel. So it's really good that the young guys are coming through and they can now say, I'm going to choose boxing as a career.
We can't thank you enough, Eddie. Thank you for coming down. Queensland is the mecca of Australian boxing. So when you get to Sydney and Melbourne, don't get too disappointed. You'll love the weather when you get back here. But DAZN, the collaboration, the team, Tasman Fighters, Gold Star Promotions, Matchroom, Turkey Al Sheikh, this only means great things for boxing. That is the official weigh-in. Ladies and gentlemen, we can't wait to see you until fight night tomorrow night. Myself, Rob Shife, Charlie Parsons, Ted Kofi, the Governor, Eddie Hearn. We are excited and ready to go. We will see you live on DAZN.